All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Junto, and I'm Noah Sawyer. This is episode 36 on Thursday, April 9th, 2026. So, thanks for tuning in. To start off today, there's a really funny combination of, let's see here. When I was doing my vocal warm-ups out of this book, or like I'll sing some things and then I'll recite some things, and then I'll sort of, as if I'm giving a speech, I'll read some things out of this. I don't know, I have a bunch of like speech books that I just had because I sell books. So they were just in the inventory by the time I decided I wanted to start live streaming and everything. But the ones from today I thought were so funny, given, I mean, they're not funny on their own. I think they're funny given the context of the stream, which I'll get into. So just for a little context, since I'm only going to read it once, and I don't know. So the first one is, it's called The Moving Picture. I guess it's maybe an excerpt, or maybe it's just a little blurb from someone named Ruth Griffith Burnett. And yeah, this is just random literary examples they put in this book to have be speech exercises. And the other one is an excerpt about Pompei by Anonymous. Doesn't have a date on it or anything. Well, I guess it implies a date because it says roll back the tide of 1,800 years to go back to the Pompei explosions or eruptions. So, all right, so in The Moving Picture, it's just this person talking about how awesome The Moving Picture is, presumably right when it came out. And it starts off, sing us a song, talking about songs of yore, what role the song used to play for people, and then tell us a story, show us a picture. And then it talks about the moving picture, and it's very optimistic, or it's just like, I'll let it speak for itself. And then there's this excerpt about Pompei, and together I think they paint a beautiful picture of how I think about the evolution of the moving picture and where we're at now. So I'll elaborate on that after. So, The Moving Picture. Sing us a song, was the demand of yore, and the wandering minstrel complied. As he sang the song of valor, there unrolled before the eyes of his listeners a picture to teach, to inspire, and to entertain them. Tell us a story, was the demand of our fathers from the oasis of the firelight. And as the storyteller, beloved and admired, told the story there unfolded before the eyes of As he told the story, there unfolded before the eyes of his hearers a picture to teach, to inspire, and to entertain them. Show us a picture is our demand, and lo, we are given the magic of a real picture, with the enchantment of the minstrel and the charm of the storyteller. In the broadness of its scope and its capacity for the portrayal of things great and small, the motion picture shows me history, science, art, and literature. From India, with its swarming highways, to barren Alaska, the world is mine, the generous gift of the camera. Because it depicts humanity, the motion picture inspires. Its subtle sermons are abiding. It takes from my tongue the timid "I can't," and in its place puts a brave "I'll try." It lightens the corners it lightens the corners of pride and indifference and makes me a little more sympathetic, more tolerant, and more fit to take my place beside my fellow men. It entertains me. It draws me without my accustomed self and lets me laugh until the tears come, or sit on the edge of my seat in suspense. It makes me glad to be alive. Education, inspiration, and entertainment. These three the motion picture means to me. I wonder if that's how people feel about reels and short-form content and just television and everything at this point. Does it make you glad to be alive? Does it make you feel more fit to take your place beside your fellow men? Do you feel like your fellow men are now more fit to take their place beside you? And it, when it talks about the motion picture shows me history, science, art, literature, that is Instagram reels. In my experience, there's a whole lot of that stuff. It's like, oh wow, it's showing me the wonders of the world. But really what it's doing is it's stealing that. It's like scratching the itch to wonder for you before you even start applying it to the real world. It gives you all of that as a pleasurable distraction so that you never exercise your capacity to start interrogating the real world through your sense of wonder. So yeah, it's just, yeah, the generous gift of the camera, the world is mine. It feels quite the opposite now. And Yeah, and that's the title of the video here. The world is alive. We are not. How alive is everybody feeling out there? How alive is everybody feeling out there tonight? It's I think it like we everyone knows that everyone is spending way too much time on the phone, but you have to think about the time spent off the phone. When you're spending that much time on the phone, sure, it's one thing, and maybe you kick yourself when you put it away at the end, but it deadens you to life afterwards. It deadens you after for good. Well, not for good, but in a serious way, in a way that really sticks with you. And what I mean by that is when you are actually just like sitting there watching something for hours, you are putting yourself in even just think of it choreographically. Think of it in terms of the posture of your body, where it's like, okay, well, I'll sit here and I'll do this. And my body does all these things at the micro level to facilitate that. And then psychologically, you're receiving all this information or, through your nervous system. And normally your body would want to react to those signals because evolutionarily, for all of human history, all of it until very recently, when you saw something, it was real and you wanted to react to it. So we repress that. We enter into a strange physiological state that deadens us to the reality of the images that are being shown to us. And that sticks with you even when you're not looking at a phone anymore or when you're not looking at a TV anymore. You remain somewhat dead to the world around you. So I'll get into this other excerpt that I thought was nice here because it describes Pompei and what happened in Pompei. If you don't know, there was a there was a volcanic eruption in this prosperous city, and it just, the ash laid waste. It essentially mummified lots of people, and it just froze the city in an instant. Not a literal instant, but I wouldn't have wanted to be there, but in a way I am there. I'm there right now because it's like there is I'll just read it and then I'll elaborate. So Pompei, from Anonymous. Roll back the tide of 1800 years. At the foot of the vine-clad Vesuvius stands a royal city. The stately Roman walks its lordly streets or banquets in the palaces of its splendors. The bustle of busied thousands is there. You may hear it along the thronged quays. It rises from the amphitheater and the forum. It is the home of luxury, of gaiety, and of joy. There, togaed royalty drowns itself in dissipation. The lion roars over the martyred Christian, and the bleeding body of the gladiator dies at the beck of applauding spectators. It is a careless, a dreaming, a devoted city. Lo, there is blackness in the horizon, and the earthquake is rioting in the bowels of the mountains. Hark, a roar, a crash, and the very foundations of the eternal hills are belched forth in a sea of fire. Woe for that fated city. The torrent comes surging like the mad ocean. It boils above wall and tower, palace and fountain, and Pompeii is a city of tombs. And so, obviously we're not, being buried in lava and ash right now, but there is an equivalent thing that is going on from the bowels of our society, from the underneath of our society in terms of, if you think about it, in terms of human experience, because there's the surface level acceptance of what is going on and acceptance of participation in society and perpetuation of society that occurs. But there's also this rot that is happening at the unconscious level within people and within the entire culture. And that is the rot through which we will see the total through which our world will become a world of tombs. And I don't think they will be tombs like they were in Pompeii. I think there will be living tombs. I think we will be moving dead through the world. And I'll elaborate on what I mean by that a little bit tonight. So if you are new to the show and you're just checking it out, in essence, even the simple thing I just did is kind of the essence of the show in a certain way, where it's like, I think people need to come together and share things with each other that are intellectually interesting. And I don't mean intellectually in a bland or academic sense at all. I think academia is a nightmare currently and has been for a while. I mean using the intellect of the mind, using our full cognitive apparatus that we are endowed with to imagine, to associate, to create, to understand, to communicate, all of this stuff. So that is the intellect. That is, what pours forth from wisdom. And so yeah, anyway, that's kind of the idea of the show, is like I just have to come up here because I don't see anyone else doing what I think ought to be done a whole lot more. And I experimented with giving lectures in person and hosting salons in my apartment and having people over, and that was wonderful, and I would like to do it more in the future, but we are in dire times. There's an immense urgency for people who live like me in a first world country and have relative resources and access to I just even talking about access to just kind of triggers the like privilege type talk, which is not what I even mean. I'm not thinking of it that way. I'm just thinking we have internet access for now. We have LLM technology access for now. I don't see any of that as permanent. I don't see that as irreversible. I think the economic structure and power structure of the society can evolve rapidly in a way where the majority of the population is thrust into a type of darkness. The internet need not always look like what it has looked like thus far. I mean, already it doesn't look like it used to look like, and it's in many ways horrible and unusable and deceitful. It is deceiving people about what it even is, because many people think of the internet as just the major platforms, Meta platforms, Google platforms. It is not understood as the network that it literally is underneath it all, because of the centers of gravity that people are drawn to. And they are drawn to through influence networks. They are drawn to through the infrastructure of the society itself, both cognitive and literal physical infrastructure. So anyway, yeah, the show is just a place where it's named after Ben Franklin's club that he had for decades in Philadelphia, where he, quote, formed, more or less a quote, this is a paraphrase, where he formed his most ingenious acquaintances into a club for mutual improvement. And I think that is needed right now, because you're not going to get it from institutions. You're not going to get it from your parents. You're not going to get it from society. You're barely going to get it. You're going to get it, if you're lucky, from your peers or from certain people out there. But mostly there's nowhere to go for help trying to learn to live or take any type of power back or become a culture creator in the world, unless it is by culture creation, I don't mean, making art or making writing or doing whatever. That all is already recuperated by the dominant culture. You might as well, obviously people benefit from that kind of thing, but in a political sense, you might as well be doing nothing. And there's a dire need right now for political intelligence with a moral backbone, I guess. If I had to sum it up, that's something I would like to see. And yeah, anyway, so if you are interested in that, you should subscribe to the show, like the video, whatever, tell your friends. And if you really like it, you can support me on Patreon and I'll mail you stuff. I can mail you books. I'm a book seller, and that's how the Patreon works. So monthly surprise books within your genre selection. So I'm just going to tell you what I was thinking about today, which is this. Well, it all started with, this might have been yesterday. I was sitting in my car and there was a car in front of me and it was a sunny day. And when you are looking at, I guess I don't know how to describe it. I think it's a type of heat interference with anyway, it I don't know if inference is really the right word. It's like a weird type of. Okay, so say you're looking at a car and the sun is shining really close to the car, you will see light distortion. So if you have a candle or something and the candle is lit and you hold it out and you look just above the flame, the movement of the heat bends the light differently, so you get a visual distortion. And you can get that even just looking at the heat of a car. The most interesting example to me, or one that has stuck with me my whole life since high school physics class pointed it out to me, is, I guess it's just the mirage phenomenon. But in our current society, the main place that you see that is on the highway. When you are on a highway, especially a very flat one or one where you're just coming up over a curve, you can see the reflection of the sky on the road at certain angles because the heat of the sun gets really hot close to the pavement, only very close to the pavement, so it becomes this thin mirror. I'm sure if you're a driver, if you drive a lot, like highway driving, you've probably noticed that and maybe not knowing what it is, but ultimately it changes the, as I understand it, the heat kind of changes the, I don't know what, sorry, it changes, I'm like really pulling from high school physics class here, but it changes the angle at which the light reflects off of the road. And so it just gives you a different picture, something like that. There's a type of distortion happening. So anyway, I was seeing that, and it's just a nice reminder sometimes to see something that indicates the real complexity of the physical world. So I think it's easy to enter into this. I think of it as like a quantized state. So not to just keep explaining terms here, but quantizing, at least in music production, is when you like say you record something, but it's not perfectly on the beat and you want it perfectly on the beat. Like say you record, I don't know, like it could just be anything, and you're recording it digitally to a computer. If you have a metronome like on that recording, you can quantize those sounds over to the proper place, like over to the proper beat or proper quarter of a beat or 16th of a beat. So it's not real at that point. At that point, it has become aligned. It has been set to a matrix, and like to a lattice. And I think that is something that affects us in our lives through the experience of, we just are in a culture of desensitization for the most part. This is heavily influenced by image addiction, by, phone addiction, TV addiction, whatever it is. Because when you have such an image forward and a language forward read of the perceptual world, you kind of click everything into an object or into a substance. But but nothing is really, like, I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to get at here is, like, sometimes I remember that physics is real, and the deep implications of, like, the highest tiers of physical scientific knowledge is real, and there is a lot of uncertainty and there is a lot of movement, even though something seems so simple and solid and it seems like I'm scratching my clipboard. But it's like, what really happens where my nail is touching the clipboard? What is that interaction really like? Because there's magnetism involved at the level of, like, pulling certain molecules away from the other ones if I'm actually, making a dent in it. All that stuff, I feel like that all gets quantized away by our way of looking at the world. It becomes just kind of rigid and more or less understood. It becomes assumed or presumed. It's like, okay, well, I need to do my thing and go to work and raise my family or whatever. So I'm in a world of objects, and I need not think about the uncertainty that lay underneath all the objects. So I think I had another example of, another example of that was I was behind a different car and looking at the exhaust coming out of this truck. There was a ton of it, and it was like a white smoke, and or gray, not like super white, and I was again thinking about the, I don't want to reduce it to just the unpredictability of the phenomenon of all that exhaust, of that vapor coming out and moving around in the air. But I could just, sometimes it just clicks and you see the complexity of the world in front of you. And I feel like that complexity is being hidden away by the norms of our society that would desensitize us to it. So this is kind of where I'm trying to get with the idea that the world is alive. In the title I say, the world is alive, we aren't. And I definitely had a couple more examples. I don't know where I put my little notebook. So one sec. I don't know, but it could be anything. It's like in a hot teacup or something, and you add honey and you stir it around, and you can just see, again, it's turbulence, like the exhaust from the car, but it just wakes you up a little bit, and you just see that there's no simplicity anywhere. There's no ability to generalize in a true way anywhere, because everything is unique and everything is singular everywhere on the globe, and it always has been. And there's utility to generalizing and to thinking about types of things and types of phenomena, of course, but I think it's all too easy and all too accepted to get totally off track and not recognize that no, all of this is literally singular. Like there's many, I'm sure there's many copies of this that were printed, and this one is mine. It's literally mine. It has these specific tears. No other book on the planet has these specific tears, because it's this one. It's specific to the singular one in my space. So anyway, when we start to forget that and just operate more in the categorical realm, in the general abstract realm, I mean, this is, I guess I want to be careful because this obviously could just be a huge topic, and I would like it to kind of wrap together in a nice way. But basically, when we become numb to that and we forget that, and we are also living in a society that is like where we are addicted to, there's like a serious domination that comes from images and words. Like I don't think I'll do this video tomorrow. I might do it on Monday, but another video I was thinking about doing today is about like the language prison that all of our minds are stuck inside of. And I don't mean just language in the human experience. I mean language in the 21st century. It is being turned into a total prison. In a sense, language has always put restrictions on humans. However, it has not always been a prison that you could only with serious strategy and aid ever hope to break out of. Whereas now it's really rigid. Now it's maximum security. The language prison is now maximum security. It used to be, the guard fell asleep with the key ring like 2 feet away. You just had to like get the dog to bring you a stick and you could lift it up. And that was the language prison. That was your parents' language prison. Now we're in a whole new one, but we can deal with that another day. So just what I want to take away from that is the like information addiction, the quantization addiction. Like you need things to be quantized. You need things to be informational. If you can hear that, that's my kettle boiling water. It sounds really loud to me. You probably can't even hear it, but yeah, so we are now cursed. We're currently cursed. I believe we can break the curse, but for now, it remains a curse where we are stuck in this state where we cannot see through the informational and the quantifiable. And something that kind of fits in here is like, I don't know, I was on the phone with a friend earlier and she was talking about this, how it's been a phrase for a while for people to make something and they'll post on, say, Instagram and say, I did a thing, I made a thing. And I'm not even going to talk about the way that they are saying that. I want to more talk about the fact that they are trying to say something like that at all. Two different problems. And maybe we can do the other one in the language prison video. But that comes from perhaps, obviously a lot goes into it. And the singularity of objects I was discussing applies tenfold, 1,000-fold, 1,000,000-fold to the human person. So I'm not literally generalizing here, but a lot of people need that validation that comes from likes, or that comes from a comment, or that comes from knowing that a certain person saw their post, even if they didn't interact with it or whatever. There's a validation switch that gets flipped, and it's like they can't just do the work and follow it through. They also need to share it in a certain way that brings them some of that. It satiates them in some way. Yeah, anyway. I'm scratching the surface here. This is a matter of the whole of life and the whole world, the fact that the world is alive and we are currently dead. So yeah, I guess, well, another thing I was thinking about was today I went to a pizza place and I was in there and there was another guy, like a little young. I thought he was just a little younger than me. I'm 29. He looked like 26. I thought, but he was 21. And he just had a beard and kind of long hair. And we started talking because he was on his phone. And I was like, you ever think, phones are brainwashing social control tools? And he was like, yes, because everyone knows. Not everyone, but young people seem to know. And then we had a nice conversation for, I don't know, 10 minutes. And anyway, it's like, it would have been so easy for me to not say anything or start that conversation, but I desperately want, I want those conversations. It's, if it's not obvious, like I'm so desperate, I'm doing it alone in my room for the sake of other people on the internet. And like, it is, and same thing with the guy at the, at the people working at the pizza restaurant. I asked where they were from, and they were from Egypt. But I was like, I don't know. When I see a Middle Eastern person right now, I worry if they have family in Lebanon or something, because it's just so insane what some people get away with in the world. So, like, anyway, so yeah, so I like. This is just to bring up that we're not even alive to each other in many ways. Like we will walk past each other, we will hardly interact with each other, and then when we do interact, how often is it just those language prison normalcies that, like, hey, how are you? Like, oh, your dog's so cute. Oh yeah, can I pet your dog? Like, I don't know, that type of just like interaction that you do see, because people who walk their dogs in a city probably get more social interaction than most people, but how much of it turns into something that actually brings the connection that someone might be seeking out of that? How much of it is just sort of, I gotta get my vocab game up. I gotta start doing my flashcards again or something, because I know a word for that, but it's gone. So, which, that's another feature of the language prison, is you get stuck in these commodified ways of talking. You get your phrases, your lexicon becomes composed of phrases you receive from other people or from media, whether that media is lectures from Yale that you're watching, or whether it's, SpongeBob. Like, it doesn't matter, but it's coming from media. It is circulating in a certain way. So, all right, I'll just peruse my notes here. But yeah, when it comes down to that with the language and with the feelings, like the being out of touch with the complexity and beauty and reality of the physical world, and then the communicated world is also lackluster. It's like we still participate in the economy and we still go through life, in quotes. We go through this concept of life, but it is, to take a phrase from Guy Debord, it is an autonomous movement of the non-living. And he was saying that in the 60s. He could already tell through the commodification of everything, it was just becoming automatic. It was becoming, I don't know if insincere is really the right word, but just not felt in a deep way and not reckoning with the true like meaning of life or ends of life, not really reckoning with where we are. Instead, it's this game being played at the surface level. So, yeah, and similar to the Guy Debord thing, he talks about how there was this transition from, life being about existence and being, like you were being. That was the fundamental condition of life. And then in the 1900s, it really became about having things. And, I mean, maybe before that, but through commodity culture, it became about owning various possessions or various categories of possession, a certain house or a certain, I don't know, whatever it is. Ultimately, I mean, in the 50s, that really becomes like owning the new dishwasher or owning the new mustard. I have no idea. So, and then there was this transition into the essence of existence, or really, I don't want to call it the essence of existence, but the essence of the cultural norm of existence, like that which people consider to be the essence of existence, at least unconsciously, or at least performatively. At least they behave in that way. Perhaps functionally is a better word. So then it becomes about appearing. It's about appearing a certain way to the people in your life, or to your boss, or to yourself, really. And that plays into the general kind of culture of narcissism thing, where it becomes just about the image. It doesn't really matter so much what's underneath the image. It's about cultivating the image, and that can happen for oneself, and likewise, I mean, if you do it for yourself, you're doing it for everybody else ultimately too, because how's anyone else going to know you mutually if you are only curating that image out of whatever it is, fear or anxiety or whatever it is. So, and then I've been thinking, I don't have a good word for this. If any of you do, let me know. But I'm thinking about the next phase, because we're in the next phase. Appearing doesn't quite describe what's going on anymore. That was more, the 60s to the 2000s. But now I think of it kind of as it's as if appearing lacked a memory. So I think of it kind of as streaming, actually, as that's like the default word that appears in my head. Also, seeming kind of appears in my head. And it's like, okay, well, now it's about appearance, but there's not even memory. It's about it needs to be a constant appearance that is highly precarious and is being curated in its extreme precarity at all times. So obviously we're getting pretty far away from being at this point. So this is a really fragile state for a human to be existing in. And I think that's kind of the norm at this point. Yeah, so let me see here. Well, yeah, one more thing about the like, do you feel alive right now? And how would you know? It's like, well, of course, on some level, we all are alive, but the existential capacity of the human consciousness is unbelievable. Like, I believe that you can feel dead. There is, I mean, if, for example, take someone who is suicidal or depressed or in total despair, they may really feel dead. Like that's not a meaningless statement because you could be like, oh well, you are alive, so actually whatever you're feeling is alive. It's no, you can feel this type of death of your senses, of your just of all dimensions of your being. So I point that out just to indicate, like, how, okay, well, if you feel alive, how alive do you feel? Because with that as, say, the lowest example, that's the bottom, and it's not a spectrum of dead to alive. The states of human existence are uncountable, to say the least. Like, highly, highly uncountable. And so we are. Oh, hang on 1 sec. I need my train of thought back. Yeah, so I will connect that just to one other thing, because when I say highly, highly uncountable, it's like the numbers between 0 and 1 are uncountable. So from negative infinity to infinity, that's also uncountable, but it is larger. However, you can also have the Cartesian plane of, negative infinity to infinity across this way, negative infinity to infinity up and down. And that is another uncountable space. Like, human experience is a highly dimensional version of that, because then you get to 3D space like that, and you can just keep increasing these spaces. So I think of it as highly unique, what everyone is going through. However, as we were talking about, it's useful to create generalities and abstractions. And, we have plenty of things in common in the human experience. Like, it's what book is it? Ecclesiastes. Like, there's nothing new under the sun. And when was that written? Like 3,000 years ago. So there's there's nothing new under the sun. Great book. And so, like, because of the relative truth of that, there's so much we do have in common with each other, and that we can apply to each other's experiences. And I think we are all feeling dead in a similar way. And one of my goals for the show over time is to really characterize this well, so that it can be recognized, so that it cannot even be denied, and so that it can be cured, and so that people can be healed from it, that life can be enriched, and the dignity of the human person can be defended through people who are able to register the dangers in the world right now and act accordingly and intelligently to prepare for an uncertain future that hopefully, hopefully is not that bad. But it's not looking good right now, but you have to have hope, because otherwise you have to operate with literal total hope if you are interested in this type of a mission at all, because it's, I'm not saying be delusional, but, those are very, very different things. I think you just have to be realistic, assess what's out there, assess what's in here, assess what's on your side, and act strategically. Like, study the past, study what's going on, and heal yourself and become very, very alive, become totally alive in this life. So, yeah, I'll peruse the notes. Yeah, one more. Yeah, so here's an example of how one way that we are deadened, that we are not enriched, that we are not in control. This is memory atrophy, attention atrophy, concentration atrophy. the it's like we have a disability against collectedness. Like, you can't move through the world in a collected state. And I mean, like, that's been an issue for thousands of years. That's like what the Buddha talks about. That's many religious traditions emphasize the importance of attention and collectedness. That you move through the world with awareness and not getting pulled away by whatever distraction or temptation might be pulling you off the road. However, this is where all those ancient traditions are extremely relevant, and they are now more relevant than ever because the danger is now more extreme than ever. As material conditions evolve, as technology progresses, as new commodities are invented, as new techniques are invented, as we are faced as human beings with new circumstances on the globe, for one way of putting it is there are new ways to sin now. And I brought that up on the show before. I think the example that came to mind on that episode was like it was much harder to say blackmail somebody in the past, but now you could record them. It's very easy to secretly record people. There are novel types of sin being invented at all times, and there are novel, like, akin to that is all the temptation to do that wrong or do that evil or hurt yourself or hurt other people. And I think that sometimes is not given enough thought because, people talk about the human experience like it's been the same. It's changing every decade, and at this point it's changing every month. And it is of dire importance that people learn to take their attention back from those novel techniques that have been pulling it away from them, those novel forms of exploitation that are hurting them, this novel architecture of sin that would turn you into a slave of sin. And what I mean by that is it would take you away from, like, you become, I mean, I'll just put it very direct. When you are subject to influence campaigns on social media, and it could be about advertising, or it could be about voting, or it could be about pacification. It could be about pacifying the population so that they don't, so that literally nobody protests the Iran war, is what it seems like. And so that is an architecture in our society. We all have the phones. We are not in control of the media that flows through the phones. Even if we upload to them, we don't have access to the algorithm. We cannot decide how we want that content to be processed or where we want that content to be distributed to on the network. No control there. That is in private hands. And so we are subject to, through this seemingly totally accepted architecture of technology, we are enslaved by the influence that we receive if we do not break those chains, if we do not break those psychological chains. If we don't break them, then we are essentially corralled by whatever they want us to do. They might want us to buy the product. They might want us to vote. They might want us to not think about something. There's a huge negative push for action as well. When it comes to propaganda, it's really about creating actions from people. And those actions don't just need to be like, vote for this candidate. Those actions can be, do nothing, do not revolt, or those actions can be, do not acquire this knowledge. Do not ever seek out this knowledge, XYZ knowledge. So we are in this heavily propagandized society that would have everybody be a willing, or, it's a trade-off. It is like a bribe. It's like, okay, well, you can accept the joys of the phone, the joys of all the entertainment, the joys of being able to raise a family, the joys of, blah, 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 if you accept all the constraints on those things, or if you accept the the effects of those things. So I would say constraints on raising a family, because if you want to raise a family right now and you're my age, you have to do certain things that I consider undignified, like the labor market that is available to us. I think is insane. I think it is. I think it's anti-American, and I think it is. It is. It's. I don't know. There's so much, and the thing is too. Like, two parents would need to be working. Like, maybe one of the constraints there is like, well, you better get your kid one of these pacification tools, one of these iPads or something, so that you can get the rest that you need when you go home. And I'm not saying that's an ethical thing to do, but I'm saying it's all baked in. It's all put together. And I'm not saying it's even conspiratorially put together. It comes together. Those technologies, and rather the software technologies that run on the physical technologies, those all have implications on the culture that they're going to develop. And I don't think it's literally deterministic, but you can broadly follow sociological currents. You can make predictions. You can make, you can kind of see where you have to throw the dart. If I guess the dartboard is moving in this example, but yeah. So anyway, yeah, I really think the way things are set up right now, it will force you to destroy yourself. It will force you to become the way I think of it, like, this is just a term in my head, the slave of sin thing, which is something St. Paul talks about in his letters. But it is, you could think of it as like a neo-feudalism, as a new form of feudalism, where you just don't have a choice over your mode of life. You are, the ways you're allowed to live in America, for example, are getting narrowed down, and pretty soon it's hopefully it's not nothing. Hopefully we're not all rounded up and just, gotten rid of. But it used to be that there were actually wide ranges of possible modes of life. And of course, influence networks were always there, but now they are more exacting and more controlling and more penetrating than ever before, as Jacques Ellul puts it in one of his books. So yeah, you're going to, if you accept the premises of our culture right now, you're going to destroy yourself, you're going to destroy your family, you're going to destroy the society, and you're going to destroy the world. And maybe that sounds like a lot to put on someone that I don't know who's watching this on the other side of the camera, but it's like, you really have to snap out of it, and you cannot participate in this society in an ignorant manner. You have to be strategic about it, or you have to, and look, not everyone, I'm not saying everybody has to be, a super soldier for Christ or something. I'm just saying there's like you do have to, you kind of have to break with what's going on if you want to love people in your life, and if you want to enrich your life and not be dead to the world, if you want to see what this world has to offer for you and that you can offer to other people through your interactions with the world, you can't take for granted you can't go along with what's expected of you. Because if you go along with what's expected of you, you're going to be numbed and dulled and broken down, and you're not even going to understand what's happening at really any stage of the process. You're going to, like, I don't know, I'm reminded of this internet, this web comic I saw years ago. I mean, like maybe 10 years ago, where it's a guy in an office and he's just like, man, I feel off today. And then it's like 4 years later, it's like, never mind, this is just my new reality. And everything in the frame is the same. And it's like, yeah, that breaks a person. That's not what people are for. I think people are here to be loved. I think people are here to be taken care of. And I think people are here to do great work on the planet. And we are currently in a society that is like extinguishing the light of human freedom, literally. So I think we need to take it seriously. That's what the show is about. The show is just like, we need a little camaraderie. We need a little help here. It's a social activity. the issue that I've been describing this whole time, it's mediated as a social phenomenon. It's a relation between people. It's not just, and that includes the relation between you and yourself. Which, not to go on a tangent, but like, there are many versions of you within yourself. There are, and there are so many ways to interpret even just what I just said. There are so many versions of you through history. There's the child, there's, I don't know how old you are, but think about all the phases of your life. And then think about all the interstices in between all those phases of your life. And then think about all those points in between those. Like, there's so much that was you. But really what I meant to say is that there's the unconscious, there's the conscious. There's so much we don't even know about what we want or why we're doing what we're doing. And, we have to enrich ourselves. We need to help each other out. This is a serious time. I think this is like near apocalyptic levels of insanity, and people are so frankly stupid in America that they can't even see it, even if you're like holding up a sign right in front of them. And even when you point it out, it's like some people, they just don't care. It's crazy. It's like, what? And to those people who don't care, if you're close to someone like that, it's like, what the hell do you think we're here for? What the hell do you think is going on in the world? What do you think is good? What do you think is important? What do you think matters at all? And I think those are hard questions that everyone needs to start asking themselves immediately. And look, I don't expect everybody to flip like a light switch right now and just become a part of the program. Like, I feel like I'm talking to like 1% of the people that even watch the show. And if you're on the level and if you want to get better, like, please hit me up, keep watching the show. Like, shit is really bad right now, and it's gonna get worse. So, I don't really want to end like that, but I kind of I was tempted to just be like, all right, goodbye, see you tomorrow. But I guess just real quick, like, there's like, we're fighting for for ways of living. Something I was thinking about the other day is just like and I'm not saying, I'm not even going to respond to the debaters in my head, all the back and forth that I have to anticipate with hypothetical commenters or something. So I was just thinking to myself, like, especially when I was talking to that guy at the pizza place, because he was 21. And when I was 21, I had gone on tour with a band across the country. And like, we just, like, that was people, luckily I just kind of joined. They had the van, they had the, the connections. It was not really a financial burden to me at that point of joining the band. But it was like, college students could just work their shitty jobs and save up enough money to go on a tour that almost breaks even. And you could just drive across America and play music and meet people. And that was before everybody was scrolling, really. People were scrolling. Like, I definitely, I had a smartphone by the first time I went on tour. This is like when was this? 2014? No, 2015. And like 2015, 2016. And yeah, it just, like, doors are being closed every single day. Like, the way you're going to be allowed to live in the future, like, doors are being closed every day. The way your kids are going to be allowed to live in the future, doors are being closed every single day. And it's not, if you just, this analogy doesn't really make sense, but it's if you just run and start opening all those doors willy-nilly, like, you're not going to get anywhere. And then you'll get shot in the head. But you need to think strategically about, like, literally what is going on in the country, who can make sense of it, who is smart, who's got resources, who can, like, I don't know, just who's real. Like, at this point, it's unbelievable. So that said, I've got a lot of hope. I feel great. Well, there's two sides of that. I honestly feel, in a certain way, I feel horrible. And I was thinking about this last night, where I like the the language prison, so to speak, the image prison, the influence matrix that I live within, and what it has done to my psyche, along with the other trauma of living in a society like this and just personal experiences, it has created a mind that is constricting my existence. It has created a psyche that out of perhaps fear is just constricting everything, because I go out there and no one's being real with me. It's like, it's just in a, it's like, how do you, even people who see what's going on a little bit, it's like, okay, well, what are we gonna, are we gonna do anything about it? Where are you gonna be in 10 years? Am I gonna know you in 10 years? What should we think about? If we're gonna know each other in 10 years, what should we maybe do in the interim 10 years to become the people we want to be in a decade? Start thinking about it. So it's just, I don't know. So I feel great in certain ways. I feel very bad in other ways. And it's all, I don't know. I think it'll all come together. I'm hopeful about all this stuff. And obviously, I mean, doing this show feels good to me. It's nice to ramble. It's nice to think. It's nice to connect with people. I've gotten some nice messages, some nice emails, and I really appreciate all of that. And if you want to support the show, hit me up on Patreon, and I'll mail you books. I'll mail you a book every month. I'll mail you a prayer card every month, typewritten or handwritten by me, of just like a quote from literature or history or whatever it is that I find nice, that I want in my brain, because there's a lot of shit I don't want in my brain, and that's what I'm getting hit with in the face 24/7 every day. So, I'd be happy to just write out some passages for an hour and mail them out to a bunch of friends. And yeah, well, like the video. I think that'll do it for tonight. I think that's all I got. And this shit is real. It's just like, stop, like, cut everything else out. Cut literally everything else out and see how you feel. See what you think. Like, cut the phone out, cut interactions out for a while. Just cut parts of your mind out for a little while, and just see who you are, see how you feel, and think seriously, like, what am I gonna do with my life? So yeah, I'll be on tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow night. Have a good night, everybody.